Well, I think we can all agree last weekend was certainly entertaining, just to say the least. We had some bonkers results going around, some insane scorelines, some dramatic wins from sides in the bottom half of the table. We had some sides in the playoffs lose so many points this weekend. To the shoutouts now, I managed to get one correct prediction. That was the Birmingham and Brentford game, which ended as a 1-1 draw. Pretty pleased about that one, a bit of an average weekend for me. And well done to Jamie Gold, you got a correct prediction as well. You got the Cardiff and Wigan game correctly to finish 2-2. And fair play to that, I was kind of close, I was only one goal off in that game. But this is what will happen now in the Lexus Hall of Fame. And I have to say, all the others in the Lexus Hall of Fame are new ones. You've got to step up your game. As always, if you like what you see, you want to see more championship content, you want to see more of me, please make sure you do give this video a like. It is massively appreciated. Please share the channel to as many championship fans as you can. And please subscribe if you haven't done, or if you're new. Okay, all of that would be fantastically appreciated. Without any further ado, let's review for what went on in Matchday 33. So a game that a lot of us got wrong was Hull versus Swansea, but at least I'm not Ben HD, my footballing content creating icon, who nearly has 25,000 subscribers, had the audacity to say this.
This is the one that's on TV tonight though, and I've got a bit of a feeling that it's not going to be a classic, and although I would like it to be a good game with a load of goals and things like that, I feel like Hull will want to shut up shop and look to improve their defensive record. And I think that Swansea could be frustrated. I'm actually going to say that this one's going to end as a goalless draw. FIFA's going to say it'll be 1-1. I hope I'm wrong about that one.
Yeah, the rare stinker from you, Ben. Well, I'm not feeling confident with your mid-season predictions after that now. With all jokes aside, we all got this game wrong. I will take a little bit of credit that I somehow got it to be a somewhat entertaining game. It was Hull City 4, Swansea 4. This was a classic championship game, a very topsy-turvy game, and I'll try and remember all the goals. And I anticipated there will be loads of goals. I felt Hull had a point to prove they were really poor on the form, as with Swansea, they had got a playoff race to compete with as well. And I feel they would have really upped their attacking game following a very frustrating 0-0 draw with Queen's Park Rangers as well. So I did anticipate goals, but not that many, let me tell you. So Hull went ahead first. Leonardo da Silva Lopez was the one that managed to score. Elder managed to loop a brilliant cross, which Gueye barely managed to clear, but it found da Silva Lopez, managing to slot past Woodman. He probably could have done a bit better with that, but that made it 1-0 to Hull. Swansea immediately responded, going up to the other end. Conor Gallagher finding himself in acres of space, managing to supply it to Wayne Routledge and managed to shoot it past long, and that made it 1-1. And then going to half time, I thought I might have predicted too many goals in this game, but alas, we saw 3 goals from both of these sides in the second half. It seemed that every opportunity these sides had, it went in. So it will start off with Hull, who went ahead first. From Marcus Maddison, who I thought was fantastic. He was really instrumental in that midfield, was driving forward, had a shot which took a wicked deflection off Gueye. The Swansea defenders were very poor to leave it, and Marcus Maddison managed to reclaim the ball and managed to shoot it past Woodman. That made it 2-1 to Hull. Then Swansea immediately equalised. We've seen some poor defending, but that defending right there was really poor. Carl Norton with so much space. Hull courts napping, giving me flashbacks of Liverpool versus Barcelona. That bad. Norton was in so much space and he got a simple goal, but he smashed it past long and that made it 2-2. Then Hull went ahead again, and it was Malik Wilks who managed to score, who initially headed the ball, but it was blocked. It could have been a penalty, maybe potentially hitting the arm of Van der Horn, but he managed to get the ball back and smash it past Woodman. That made it 3-2 Hull, and then the scoring still doesn't stop there. Swansea made it 3-3. Andre Ayew doing fantastically well on the left, really driving forward. He squared it to Jordan Garrick, of all people, and managed to tap the ball in. That made it 3-3. And then for the first time of the game, Swansea went ahead with Ryan Brewster managing to score. Conor Gallagher having another opportunity. His shot was blocked, but then it fell nicely to Ryan Brewster, who did a swivel to try and knock the ball home. Long undoubtedly should have saved it. It was very poor how he let it in, but I thought that this was going to be a very climatic end for Swansea City. But no, in the 95th minute, Hull found enough opportunity to equalise. Josh McGuinness did terrifically well down the left-hand side, and Tom Eames managed to poke the ball through the net for 4. Unbelievable game. Both of these sides probably didn't want to draw from this game. Hull got a trip against Preston, which it'll be tough, although following Preston's pretty poor home record recently, Hull could take their chances. As with Swansea, they've got to go to Huddersfield. Won't be an easy game, but I realistically can see both these sides winning. But they both need to improve defensively. Second half, any shot that went in, got in. Very entertaining game for the neutral, a classic championship game. There seems to be a theme going on in these first two games. I get the correct result, but I predict half of what the result actually is. I predicted 1-1 this game. West Brom and Nottingham Forest ended 2-2. I didn't actually anticipate that many goals in this game, especially from the first 20 minutes where it looked like both opposition players were on the ground more than they were on their feet. The referee, I think, had a little bit of a nightmare in that game. I think he did start to lose control with the amount of fouls each side were giving to each other. West Brom eventually went ahead through Callum Robinson, who found himself in so much space, whilst West Brom managed to break, making it 4 versus 2. They managed to give it to Callum Robinson, who did the very simple task to loop it over Bryce Samba, and that made it 1-0 to the Baggies. But crucially, Nottingham Forest equalised just before half-time. Carl Bartley, with a very unfortunate own goal, tried to slide in and probably committed too much to the challenge to try and defend. He managed to poke it into his own net, and that made it 1-1. Then West Brom went ahead again, a very similar goal to Carl Bartley's goal actually. Figueiredo tried to slide in, tried to defend it, but he poked it in his own net, and that made it 2-1 to West Brom. And I thought West Brom were going to have a clutch victory, but no, Matty Cash had to spoil the party for West Brom, scoring an absolutely terrific volley from inside the box. It was struck unbelievably well. It was just like a firework came out of nowhere, because the game after it finished 2-1 I thought was really flat. Nottingham Forest weren't creating much. They didn't have many shots on goal. I believe they only had one shot on target the entire game, which was Matty Cash's volley. As with West Brom, they should have put the game to bed. They did have countless opportunities, but Nottingham Forest had a clear game plan in trying to play from the counter-attack and trying to break the play from West Brom. There was so much fouling going on, a very rough and tumble game. Nottingham Forest would be very happy with the point. I think West Brom would be devastated they didn't get all 3. And then to the one game that I got correct, it was Birmingham 1, Brentford 1. I'm surprised I got the score right, but how there weren't many goals in that game beats me. Birmingham were absolutely terrific in the opening stages of the game, could have scored 2 or 3 in the first 10 minutes. Jude Bellingham was terrific. He managed to cut him through, just shooting from just outside the box. He was unlucky. His effort managed to hit the surface of the post. Really unlucky with that effort for me. They continued to have chances with Jeremy Bella shooting the ball just wide of the post. Eventually, Birmingham got rewarded for their efforts and going ahead. Gary Gardner doing tremendously well going down on the left. He managed to square it, and former Brentford man Scott Hogan dummied the ball for Lukas Jukovic to tap in. It was a saucy goal, to say the least. It was one of the more satisfying goals that I saw back. Brentford only took 4 minutes to equalise from Macondes, I think that's how you say his name, floating in a terrific corner. Ethan Pinner gained so much space, managing to head the ball in, scoring his first goal for the club, and that made it 1-1. Macondes again also had a fierce effort, which Lee Camp, to be fair to him, had a terrific game in Birmingham's goal. If it wasn't for him making some fierce saves from Benrahma and Macondes, then Birmingham would not have drawn in this game. As a result, that doesn't really help either of the sides for me. Brentford could have had an opportunity to solidify their places in the playoff, and a bit following that other side to drop points as well. They're going to have to settle with the point. As with Birmingham, they are undefeated in 10 games now, so in a terrific run of form, Birmingham. And if they can continue this form going, maybe they might be in a reasonable position in the table. I've got to do my mid-season predictions after I do this video. I have absolutely no idea what thought process I'm going to do, although to be fair, I think we're all completely starstruck for what this season has turned out to be. I am just as lost as anyone in trying to predict the championship table, let me tell you. And then we saw Cardiff picking up a draw against Wigan. It ended as 2-2. And Wigan took the lead very early on, 5 minutes in. Kiefer Moore, who was linked with Cardiff, but unfortunately for the Cardiff, they got a taste of what they might be missing out on. It was a short corner, and it was lovely build-up play. And then Kiefer Moore managed to do a little back heel, and that managed to get it past Smithies to make it 1-0 to Wigan. Cardiff responded immediately, like 3 minutes later, and had one tactic to get over Wigan: long throws. And it did seem to work really, really well. It came from a long throw, and Wigan couldn't really defend it well, and Josh Murphy, with so much space, managed to smash it past Marshall, and that made it 1-1. Cardiff, I think, had the better chances throughout the game. Then Wigan went ahead, almost to the surprise of the away fans. They managed to win a penalty from a blatant handball. I do agree with the penalty decision. Kiefer Moore stepped up, and that made it 2-1 going to half time. But following Wigan's really poor record of dropping points from losing positions. Cardiff once again with a long throw. It wasn't cleared very well, it ricocheted, and eventually it went on Craig Naismith's head, so that ended as an own goal, and that made it 2-2. Cardiff had more opportunities from a long throw, which shot high off the goal, and Cardiff did have a goal disallowed near the end where Marshall was obstructed with the ball. The goal was chalked off, which I do agree with as well. I'd say a good away point for Wigan, but what sucks for them is that the two sides below them have picked up maximum points, so if anything, they've now closed the gap onto them. I don't think Cardiff are at their best, but they're in a reasonable position right now. If they can keep this unbeaten run going, Cardiff could be in a fantastic position come the end of the season. I then saw Blackburn picking up a 2-0 away victory against Charlton, and if there's anyone that they need to thank, it's Christian Walton. Man of the match for me, just seeing the highlights. Wow. The amount of top-class saves he had to make because Charlton bombarded Blackburn a couple of times. And Blackburn, with their two only notable opportunities, they scored 2 goals. It's just sometimes it doesn't make any sense, which is why I love the Championship. They scored well with Buckley doing terrifically well, holding the ball, and I don't know how many Charlton players he must have beat and how many tackles he's dodged, but he dodged at least 2 or 3, and he managed to shoot past about 3 or 4 defenders right past Phillips to make it 1-0 to Blackburn. It was a terrific solo goal from him. And just under 10 minutes later, Blackburn went ahead again. Very poor defending in Charlton's path from a free kick. And Adebayo, who wasn't marked enough, he managed to tap the ball in. Phillips was absolutely enraged, and I don't blame him. He definitely wasn't pressed enough. Charlton, despite that, they were really pushing Blackburn. Lyle Taylor had 2 fantastic opportunities. One in the first half where he had a free header, but Christian Walton made a point-blank save to put it over the bar. It was absolutely terrific. Probably one of the saves of the weekend for me. And then he had a free kick in the second half, which was saved very well by Walton again. So Charlton were left very frustrated with plenty of opportunities, but they just weren't clinical enough. And Blackburn were clinical, and it leaves Blackburn in a very good position right now. If they continue this good run of form, they could be a dark horse to go into the playoffs. As for Charlton, they need to try and pick up as many points as they can. If they have a losing streak, they'll be in severe danger following the sides below them winning this weekend. The pressure is just going to be mounting on them. Birmingham Derby drawing with Huddersfield, 1-1 the final scoreline was, and for most of what I saw in the game, Huddersfield I think were the better side. Derby found themselves back foot most of the game. If they were going to have any chance to score, it was going to be from a set piece or from something special, and it took exactly that. Tom Lawrence with so much space. It was deep into the second half with a load of space just outside the penalty box. He smashed it and it hit the roof of the net past Jonas Lossell to make it 1-0 to Derby. He's got a terrific goal in the opening day of the championship season, a bit similar to that. But Huddersfield from the game definitely deserves something from it, and I'm glad they did get something from the game. Harry Toffolo doing terrifically well to chest the ball, and he drove forward into Derby's defensive end. They were completely petrified of him. He managed to find a bit of space and weave his way through and shoot it past Ben Hamer, and that made it 1-1. Derby could have had a second goal when they were 1-0. Martin Wagon had a diving header which was well saved by Lossell. Wayne Rooney, he had a good free kick which was looped well, but Jonas Lossell managed to save that too. Ben Hamer also saved a one-on-one situation near the end of the game as well. So both teams did have chances, but I think a draw was slightly the fairer result. Derby did have some chances, although I do say Huddersfield were the side that if any side were going to win, it should have been them. It doesn't help Huddersfield too much following that both a lot of the sides below them won points this weekend, but it could be a valuable away point. As with Derby, it doesn't affect them too much. They didn't lose. I think this result affects them too much. It could have been bang slapping mid-table by the end of the season. And then undoubtedly a contender for a result for the weekend, we saw bottom cup Barnsley picking up a 3-0 away victory against Fulham. I didn't give Barnsley a chance in this game, but wow, shouldn't I have? Fulham continued to play out from the back like they do all season, but Barnsley's high press really did affect them. Barnsley really pounced on Fulham, giving the ball away cheaply, and Rodak in goal had a complete mare. The first 2 goals were from mistakes that he should know better of. The first one came from a terrific pass from Alex Morat finding Jacob Brown, and then he kind of bundles Jacob Brown, I don't know what word to use, but he puts him to the ground and it's a penalty to Barnsley. Cordy Ridgeo slots it past Rodak against his former club. That made it 1-0 to Barnsley. And it continued to be that tempo. Fulham rarely troubled Barnsley again. There was a period in the second half where I felt Fulham were a little bit threatening, but as soon as Barnsley dealt with it, Barnsley really poached forward, and as soon as they went 2-0 up, Fulham just did not look like they were going to get back into it. Fulham's pressure came from Mitrovic, who managed to force a save from Radlinger, and there was a corner where Radlinger was pretty much out of position, but neither of the Fulham players could take authority over that. Their second goal, though, was absolutely brilliant. Could have been well avoided if Rodak stayed between the sticks. He came forward trying to distract Jacob Brown, but that pass from Woodrow to Brown, wow, 50-yard pass I think it was, and Rodak was way too far forward. Brown managed to get the connection first, and then he tapped it through to an empty net, and that made it 2-0 to Barnsley. And despite Fulham having a few chances, Caballero was the one making the most difference in the game. Woodrow managed to add a third, doing very, very well on the left, easily winning the battle between him and Michael Hector. Managed to get through to the left and slotted past Rodak, and that made it 3-0. Cavallero hit the bar at the end, but that was practically the only big opportunity that Fulham had. Very flat, disappointing performance from Fulham. They've had a few of these performances quite recently. Fulham will need to recover as soon as they can. I think they need one good game and they need a good streak, and then I think Fulham will be okay. I think a common theme is that a load of these playoff sides, but sometimes they have good games and they can go going for a couple of times, but then when they have a flat performance and necessarily they may get away with it, they eventually get punished from it, and it's a very punishing league, the Championship, which is not surprising. As with Barnsley, very important points. What really sucks for them is that Luton managed to pick up 3 points as well, so they couldn't overtake Luton and not be at the bottom of the table anymore, but they're only 6 points from safety now. Survival could really still be on the cards for Barnsley if they continue this up, especially performance-wise. What they can't do now is beat Fulham, but then have a 19-game winless streak like they did in the opening day of the season. They cannot afford to do that. I then we saw Leeds beating Bristol City by 1-0. I think it was the deserved result, but wow, how the scoreline was still 1-0, I have no idea. They had chance after chance. Luke Haney managed to score against his former club. The ball was ricocheted around the box. Bristol City didn't really do a lot to try and clear it, and that was poor from them. But Luke Haney, with a lot of space on the right hand side, managed to shoot it past Bentley, and that made it 1-0. That proved to be the only goal in the end. But Leeds definitely should have had more. Helder Costa, who was practically 1-on-1, could have done better. Then Helder Costa was in a great position again, squared it to Bamford, but his shot lacked connection. It was barely saved by Bentley, but Williams managed to clear it off the line. Bamford once again has just not looked like he's in a lot of confidence right now. I saw him when he got substituted and he looked so disappointed. Sean-Kevin Augustine was not there long enough for me. He should have been introduced in the second half, in my opinion, to try and get his impact on the game. You know, he's a young player. You can't expect him just to change the game 10 minutes in. As for Bristol City, they did have a couple of opportunities, but none that were really testing Casilla. They barely had a shot on target in the game, so there was not many goal mouth opportunities that Bristol City had. They could have appealed for a penalty, which I think was contentious, but I think I understand why it was waved away as well. This is a fantastic result for Leeds. Following that, West Brom have dropped points, Nottingham Forest dropped points, Preston have dropped points, Bristol City have dropped points. Leeds have managed to sustain a little bit of a gap between them and the chasing pack in the playoffs, and have managed to reduce the gap between them and West Brom as well. So a very good day for Leeds and Marcelo Bielsa. As with Lee Johnson, Bristol City are going to have to rethink again because they were definitely below par against Leeds. And definitely another result of a weekend contender was Luton Town getting a 1-0 away victory against Middlesbrough. 2 wins in a row, 2 clean sheets in a row as well. Absolutely madness. Definitely wasn't a 100% complete performance for Luton Town, but it was the best away performance I've seen them since they had a terrific win against Barnsley away from home. But it was terrific. The amount of confidence I saw them and how little they felt threatened about Middlesbrough at all, who said to have a really good home record as well. Previously, they were undefeated in the last 8 or 9 home games. So Luton did really well to not only break that, but keep a clean sheet as well. Ryan Tunnicliffe managed to get the goal. Fantastic build-up play. Managed to start the centre of the box. Managed to loop into the left of the penalty box. Managed to get looped in. He got headed, and Ryan Tunnicliffe was in the right place at the right time with a load of space. Had a pretty tame shot, but it was just about good enough to get into the corner of the net, and that was 1-0 to Luton. And Luton could have had a few more chances. Berry, who whipped in the corner, had a little bit of a touch, but then it was wide of the post. Impanzu could have had a chance in the second half where he was in so much space, but he hit it high and wide over the bar. Middlesbrough were very poor and very flat in this game. They barely troubled Luton at all. Luton were very comfortable defensively, which is something you don't hear me say often. Jonathan Woodgate thought the right approach to try and get something from this game was to put 4 strikers up top. They called Gusted, Assombalonga, Fletcher and Lemaitre. It's not always going to work. If you're going to have 4 strikers, you need to have people down the wings to supply them. There was no width going down from Middlesbrough's shape, so that's why they couldn't really muster many opportunities even with the 4 strikers. Jonathan Woodgate, unsurprisingly, is in so much pressure. I've just looked at this recently. In terms of the championship, he's even got a worse win percentage than George Strachan. He's got a win percentage lower than 25%. I don't know how much time he's going to have personally, and it's a shame because I think he had a fantastic December to January period, but if he didn't have that period, I'd say Jonathan Woodgate will be out the door. As for Luton, it's a fantastic win. It puts on 30 points now, only 4 points below safety now. Opportunities are endless for Luton actually. They could have a chance of survival. They need to win games though. If they don't win games, they won't survive. We've only seen more of the top 6 dropping points as Preston dropped all 3 points, with Millwall picking up a 1-0 away victory. And I have to say it was a very shocking performance by Preston. And I have to say Millwall, I don't think were even at their best. I don't think they even needed to get out 3rd gear. Preston, apart from one Daniel Johnson opportunity, which to be fair was well saved by Bilkowski, and Daniel Johnson did take too long. If he took it first time, that could have been 1-0 Preston. But apart from that, Preston offered close to nothing to troubling Millwall. Millwall had a lot more opportunities, and I have to say the closest Millwall should have gone ahead before they actually did go ahead was that I think it was Butfarson who was put 1-on-1 after robbing the ball from Ben Davies with Declan Rudd, and somehow he hits the crossbar. It was a golden opportunity, but then Millwall did manage to trouble Preston, and it was from their corners. Preston just could not clear their corners, and Millwall eventually managed to score. Preston tried to put them offside, but Hutchinson wasn't offside. He managed to time as well perfectly and head the ball past Rudd, and that made it 1-0 to Millwall. And Preston were disappointed that they couldn't really respond. It was pretty late on in the game, and I say Millwall do deserve the win from what they managed to play and the amount of times they actually troubled Preston. I did think they did deserve it. It's a blow for Preston knowing that other teams around them dropped points as well. They could have used this opportunity to really capture their place into the playoffs. If they lose against Hull, and following their poor home record now, they've now not won in 5 games, even despite having the best home record in the league. They've not won in their last 5 home games. So Preston need to fix their home record and just playing at Deepdale. They need to fix that a lot better now. But in terms of Millwall, it was a great performance. It was a good response to previous games. They were in a winless streak for about 3 or 4 games leading up to this game. It was a great response, and they've managed to pick themselves up, and maybe they can go again and maybe try and get to the playoffs. We're going to have to wait and see. For our penultimate game, we had a very entertaining game with Queen's Park Rangers beating Stoke by 4 goals to 2. Stoke had a terrific start, going 2-0 up in the game. Sam Klukas managing to score the first, keeping the ball very, very well and slotting it past the left side past Liam Kelly in goal, and that made it 1-0 to Stoke. Tyrese Campbell scored 4 minutes later, making it 2-0. This time shooting from the left side, managing to get into the corner, and that made it 2-0. And I thought Stoke by then were in complete control, which is exactly what I predicted. I thought Stoke were going to win, but Queen's Park Rangers completely turned the game on its head and immediately had a terrific control over them. The front 4 Queen's Park Rangers is absolutely insane in terms of attacking wise. When they get their passing right, they can look absolutely dangerous. Some of the defence splitting passes they were doing were absolutely terrific. Jordan Hugill, who had a bit of a goal drought going into this game, managed to end it by scoring, receiving a terrific pass from midfield, and he managed to shoot it past Butler, and that made it 1-2. But Eze 4 minutes later made it 2-2, where he made some intelligent play, getting it into a load of space, running forward and managing to slot the ball past Butland easily. That made it 2-2. And the game went a bit quiet for a little bit. Cy Samuel managed to break the deadlock though, managing to be a little bit selfish with the ball actually, for what I thought intentionally, but his shot was absolutely terrific from a very difficult angle, an awkward angle at least. Managing to get past Butland, and that made it 3-2 to Queen's Park Rangers. And finally, in the 91st minute, Elias Chair managed to make it 4-2 after Butland made a terrific save when he carried it straight to Chair and managed to tap it into an empty net, and that made it 4-2. It's a great win for Queen's Park Rangers following they had a poor run of form leading up to this game. As with Stoke, it's a poor defeat following the other side that have managed to pick up all 3 points today. It wasn't a terrible performance from Stoke, I thought, but they need to improve their game management. They were 2-0 up and controlled. They needed to be more stronger defensively, in my opinion. I'd be surprised if Stoke are relegated, but they definitely need to be careful and take every game as they come now. And then for our final game, we go back to the conversation of managers being under pressure, and that is Gary Monk. Wednesday are on a 6-game winless run right now, are in a horrific run of form since New Year, if I'm going to be honest with you. Reading really punished Sheffield Wednesday for being so sloppy. Sheffield Wednesday had a couple of chances, but they didn't really test any efforts on goal. As with Reading, Ejaria was pulling the strings away again. He was instrumental to how Reading were piling forward Ejaria made a terrific pass, which put Yaku Mate practically one-on-one shoot past Cameron Dawson, and that made it 1-0 to Reading. And then, to make matters worse, Sheffield Wednesday went down to 10 men with Urgid. I think that's how you say his name, I'm not too sure. But he got a second yellow card by fouling Ejaria. The second yellow especially was definitely yellow. Things got from bad to worse when George Puskas managed to score a goal. A bit of a bizarre goal, and Cameron Dawson, I think, definitely could have done better for it. It was a shot from distance, and whether it curled or had a few deflections, it barely just went past Cameron Dawson, and I think he could have done better personally. I might be being a bit harsh, but it looked like from the angle that I saw it that Cameron Dawson would let it in very cheaply, and that made it 2-0. And eventually Reading completed the scoring when they won a penalty in the 91st minute. Sam Baldock stepped up, he just about scores. That was 3-0 Reading. Very important win for Reading since they were on a very poor run of form leading up to this game. They could really project their season from this. I'm not too sure that they're going to get in the really high parts of the table, Reading, but they could be one of those sides that just gets the odd win now and again. I don't think they'll finish that high up the table. I don't think they're consistent enough. As for Sheffield Wednesday, they've got to fix their form as soon as they can, otherwise they do get these points deduction that a lot of championship clubs are really demanding for. Sheffield Wednesday could all of a sudden be in talks for relegation, and that will be absolutely crippling financially for them if they ever end up in that situation. So not a really good time for Sheffield Wednesday fans at the moment. So there's my review. This is what the table looks like, just to recap after Matchday 33. My goal of the weekend was really tough. There were so many contenders that I could have picked for this, but for me, I'm going to slightly edge Tom Lawrence's strike against Huddersfield. It was a very clean strike and it was top corner, so I'm going to say Tom Lawrence's strike, but there were so many great goals I could have given goal of the weekend too. Result of the weekend for me could be only one. Fulham 0, Barnsley 3. Bottom of the table, Barnsley getting a 3-0 away victory and a clean sheet against a promotion challenger is absolutely incredible. So I'm going to say result of the weekend is Fulham 0, Barnsley 3. Play of the weekend is really difficult for me to decide. I'm going to link it back to the Barnsley game. I was going to give my play of the weekend to Woodrow, but I'm going to slightly edge Jacob Brown to him because I think he was the one that made a lot of the stuff happen and set up those chances for Barnsley. So I'm going to say my play of the weekend goes to Jacob Brown. But that wraps it up for today's video, guys. If you guys liked what you see, you want to see more championship content, please make sure you do give this video a like. It's massively appreciated. If you want to see my mid-season predictions as well, let me know in the comments down below, and please make sure you do give that a like as well so I can see it. Please subscribe if you haven't done, or if you're new around here, all of that would be fantastically appreciated. And please share this content with many football fans and championship football fans if you can. All that would really make my day. But thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are legendary if you saw the end of this video. And as always, take care.